Broadcasting live from Youngville, North Carolina and Ontario, Canada. This is Got Mead Live, a weekly show where Vicky Rowe and AJ Airmans bring you the mead news, meadery info, and mead-making discussions from all over, talking with mead makers, mead owners, industry mavens, and influencers. This is Got Mead Live, a weekly podcast about mead and the people who love it and where the mead world is going. And now here are your hosts, Got Mead owner Vicky Rowe and mead and wine maker AJ Airmans.
Live from the den of the puppies of the apocalypse, the bunny pen in Ottawa, Canada, it's Got Mead Live. Welcome to the show. And no, for those of you that are wondering, I haven't taken the pain pills. I'm not doing that till after the show. Because I'm drinking
probably
mead
for
right
the
now.
best.
Probably for the best, yeah. I'd be like snoring online. That stuff knocks me right out. I just wanted to get out a thank you very much to the folks that have signed up or renewed for Got Mead patron memberships. It's very much appreciated. That is the money that goes to keep the wheels turning around here, keep the website online, keep the, pay for the storage and broadcasting and whatnot of Got Mead Live. So it is very much welcome and keeps me from having to dip into my personal budget to do it like I usually do. So very much appreciated. If you are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, Got Mead patron membership is a $30 a year membership that will give you access to the Got Mead patron group on Facebook, the Got Mead patron section on the forum, which has award-winning recipes in it, and 50 cents a week. Get you access to that. You're helping to support this so that we can keep doing this. And, and it helps defray the $400 a month or so it costs to, keep this whole show on the road. So very much appreciated. And again, thanks to those of you who signed up or renewed last week. I really do appreciate you. If you want to listen to us online, you can catch us at gotmead.com, obviously. Or if you want to, and that's if you click Got Mead Live Radio Show, that'll take you straight to the main page where there is a player and you can, when we're live, it is. Otherwise, it's showing whatever we did most recently. If you want to catch us later, like when you're making mead or driving to work or working in the garden, which is what many of us are doing these days, except me, because I can't right now.
Vicky broke herself.
Yeah,
gardening.
I broke myself. You can catch us on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, and Google Play. Just search Got Me Live. Online, if you want to catch us, you can find us on Facebook. We're facebook.com/gotmead. Main group is facebook.com/groups/gotmead. Twitter is @gotmeadnow. Feel free to tweet us. I'm usually watching the feed during the show. If you want to send us questions, suggestions, or ideas about who you'd like to see on the show next, or things you'd like us to ask upcoming guests, or just general questions you'd like to have talked about, go to gotmead.com, put your mouse over Got Mead Live Radio Show. There'll be a drop down. Click that. There's a form there you can send in, and it goes to both me and AJ. So feel free to do that. We love hearing from folks that are listening and have ideas. And we do this guy for you guys. So, and if you want to call us during the show, feel free to call us at 803-443-MEAD. That's 803-443-6323. So tonight's guest is Greg Heller-LaBelle. He's the vice president of the American Mead Makers Association, and he is co-owner of the Colony Meadery in near Bethlehem, PA. So he's going to come talk about MeadCon East, woohoo, and we're gonna pull out of him. He's quite the business builder and is really big in entrepreneurship. So there'll be a lot that he can tell us about meadery building and stuff like that, I think. So it should be pretty fun. So in the meantime, what are we drinking?
Well, I've got that bottle of the Kiss the Flower honey collaboration with Spicy Vines Winery.
Uh-huh.
Their wildflower mead that's quite pleasant.
Nice.
And seems to have lasted just fine at, half a bottle.
There you go.
With the cork shoved back in.
I always wondered if those things that have the needle that punches through the cork that lets it quote-unquote reseal itself. I saw a commercial for that the other day. It doesn't actually work.
Hmm.
to not let air into the bottle. I don't see how they would, because you still have to get that wine out of there, and in order to displace the wine, you've got to put something in its place. So I don't know. Physics doesn't seem to work with that.
Well, I actually do own one of those vacuum vent things, but I keep forgetting to use it, and I've used it for degassing actually more often than I've used it for. Well, if you take the airlock off of the bung, you can just sort of stick it on the bung and suck the air out, and
Oh, cool.
when it falls off, it's actually time to suck it out again.
So it's both a air sucker outer or a CO2 sucker outer and a bellwether.
Yeah, but mostly I just keep forgetting, because most of the time shoving the cork back in seems to work just fine.
Yeah.
And also that way I get to see what the meat's going to taste like with a little bit more oxidation on it.
True.
Which I'm okay with generally.
Mead progression. These are good things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I am
like
working. Yeah, exactly. I am working on a growler of hopped mead that I got from John Talkington at Birmingham Meadery, and this was one of their draft meads, so pulled it straight off of there. I had 3 other ones, one of which I had laying downstairs, and it was on its side. It didn't like being on its side, and leaked all over all my other bottles, and I still.
Oh no!
Yeah, and I lost half of it. It was this plum mead. It was so good. Oh my god! And so I'm going to have to go all the way back up to Delaware and get more, which thank God I will be when I go up for MeadCon East. So, but I'm going to make it a point to stop by there, and hopefully they'll have that going at the time, because every time I go by there I spend way too much money. Not complaining though. Okay, so this hopped mead, it's a really nice balance, like all of John's meads that I've had so far. It's draft mead. When you smell it, its nose is just full of a nice full-bodied honey and hops, and it has a nice round mouthfeel with the honey is followed by the hop bitterness, and it leaves a tingly piece all over your tongue. It is slightly carbonated, and it's really bright, and I would think it would be a really good beach mead. It's really bright and light, but it's also got the body you would expect from a full ABV mead. So I really like it, and it's a really, like I say, it's a really well balanced between the honey and the hops. So I don't know if they have this on tap today, but if you want to find out, you can go to birminghammeadery.com. And they've got a tap list there of whatever they're pouring this very moment. So go check it out.
That's a really good idea, actually, is keeping a current tap list.
Well, apparently there is a service that, and I noticed this on a number of meaderies, you can basically go on your account on this service that you can wrap your website around and just put up your tap list, and it just keeps a constant running thing. So you don't having to constantly update your website. You just go add or remove meads to the tap list, and it auto updates. And I've seen a couple that it looks like they've got tap displays, a couple that have electronic tap displays that look like they may be tied in to that same software. So that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, what a great
technology
idea.
in mead, eh?
Isn't it though? I mean, this is, well, and mead makers are notorious for taking advantage of technology. I mean, I've seen some pretty slick setups. So, I mean, come on, we are overrun with geeks. It's just, it's
geeks of a feather, right?
Pretty much, yeah. But so I really like this. It's nice, and I don't think I'll finish it tonight. There's at least another glass and a half in there, and I do have to take narcotics later, so.
Yeah, maybe that's mixing the two is not the best idea.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take it easy and
enjoy your narcotics.
Well, it's basically after a whole day. I'm trying not to take them, but the pain does get pretty bad after a while, so we'll do as much as I can. Anyway, enough about me. What about Greg? We're going to go ahead and bring Greg in, and we're going to ask him, what about Greg? Greg, what about you? There he is. I actually Skypey butt dialed him. earlier today. I was checking to see did I have the right number in there. I was like, sorry. Hi. Oh, he's not here yet. Oh, he's still calling. Hopefully he's there. Greg.
Hello.
Welcome to Got Mead Live again. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Hey there.
I was just telling AJ how I butt dialed you earlier today. Sorry.
Quite all right.
It's hard to do, you know.
My phone has actually decided to start calling people randomly.
Oh no!
In the last few months. So it's really been a nice experience, you know, getting texts from people being like, "Did you call me?" and being like, "Nah, but my phone did."
Well, that's because you have that running app, and it sounds to me like it's starting to take control.
Yeah, it's probably some type of advanced AI. Skynet's probably started from my phone.
Yeah.
That would be it. Well, I've seen your running app posts. They crack me up every time. And I think that's probably.
I'm glad you enjoy.
Yeah, it's probably it is probably trying to tell you something.
Yeah. Hopefully it stopped running.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have to run for me too. I'm not gonna be doing any running anytime soon. It looks like. So.
Yeah, how's the leg? Is it too early to make tailgating jokes?
It is probably not too early to make tailgating jokes. I've kind of been making them pretty much since I fell off the damn thing or jumped down and broke myself. But yeah, no, it's I don't know what's going on with it yet because I haven't seen an ortho. All they can tell me is the X-ray says no bones were broken, so there's that. That does not tell me whether or not I blew a ACL or something, so we'll find out.
Right. Well, you know, as a Buffalo Bills fan, I have great respect for dangerous tailgates. So, you know, it's really something that I have a great deal of appreciation for what you're going through there.
I've been to a few Virginia Tech tailgate parties. Those are pretty dangerous, but, you know. I didn't break anything at those, though. This was just like in my own yard. I wasn't even doing anything fun.
It's always the way, though. The older you get, the dumber your accidents are.
Oh, I know, right? So
I don't know. I mean, my accidents in college were pretty stupid. So I mean, you know, maybe I'm an exception to that rule. But you know, if we get too much dumber than that, I'm not going to make it. So
well, it's the dumbness of the accident is mitigated by having a good story, and that's okay then.
That's true.
You know, if you have a good story, then it doesn't matter how dumb it was. The story is good. I didn't even have a good story for this, so it's just dumb, you know.
But nobody knows that. I mean, you can just make it up. Like that's the fun thing is you can just, you know. I remember at one point I was out drinking with a friend of mine who'd like, you know, tweaked a wrist doing something not terribly interesting, and just like as more and more people throughout the evening asked him what it was, his story just kept getting more and more bizarre to the point where like. Late in the evening, you know, someone came up to him and said, you know, what happened to your wrist? He just like looked at him deadpan with a little bit of like crazy eyes and just said, Badgers. And then left. Like that was his answer.
Oh, jeez.
I gotta use that. So
that's good. I like that. Well, you know, it's funny because when my daughter she had to have a mass removed from behind her kneecap, so they had to go in from the back. Because you can't just pop the kneecap off, you know. So they went in from the back, and they basically just sliced her leg right down the back for like 12 inches, and then pulled everything out of the way so they could go in and pop this mass out of there. And so she has this like 8 or 9 inch long scar, and people were like, "What'd you do?" And she was going, "Tigers."
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, and the number of people that like actually believed her was stunning.
Yeah, great answer. I mean, so yeah, you can listeners can chime in with, you know, what should Vicky say?
Oh yeah, there we go, guys. What's my story here?
Yeah, let's come up with a better story than falling off a tailgate.
Well, stepping off a tailgate, but yeah.
My aunt hyperextended her thumb shoving garlic into a roast, and her friends all told her, nope, you can't tell people that that's how it happened. You have to tell them that you did it skydiving.
Yeah.
Or something.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I do have a good story for the elbow surgeries I had to have because I really did scare robbers out of my neighbor's house with a baseball bat, and you know, so that was
Murderer
actually
even.
like a good and real story. So that's one of
So
my.
then now your story for the leg is they came back.
As they came back, yeah. And I went to kick him and fell. Damn it!
Yeah.
You should see the other guy.
You should see the other guy.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't have my baseball bat, so I had to kick him to death.
You broke the bat.
All right. Let's talk about me, not my clumsiness. So, it's already been announced, but I wanted to get you on here to not just talk about MeadCon, but also about what you guys are up to up there in PA with the Colony. So let's tell people who you are. I mean, I did post some of that in the article, but who reads articles anymore? And I mean, let's be real here. Let's be real here. Nobody reads a damn article. So tell them who you are and what you're up to, and bring them up to date on the cool things that are fixing to happen.
So yeah, I'm Greg Heller. I am the co-founder of the Colony Meadery in scenic Allentown, Pennsylvania. We're 5.5 years old, which is old enough to make us not the first commercial meadery in Pennsylvania, but the first one that was in, a commercial building, not someone's garage or basement. And certainly the largest one in Pennsylvania, and probably for a ways in any direction. We sort of start, and it is interesting because like how different the mead world is now from when we started, and how much, how different the landscape is, how many other meads are out there. When we started, we were all about clean meads with big flavor that were going to be really approachable. There was zero mead scene in Eastern Pennsylvania to speak of. And so it was really our goal to try and make something that we could, that could really hit a whole lot of palates and deliver a lot of like big flavor on a clean backbone. And honestly, that's still our identity. We do it in different ways. Now we've gotten way more into session meads, and we do a lot more canning. We were certainly in that first wave of meaderies to can, seriously as like a full-time thing. And that side of the business just kind of keeps growing and growing. So we do a lot with that now. And we've been thinking quite a bit now. I think you tend to do that after you hit the 5-year mark where you like look around and you're like, oh, wow, 5 years is a significant chunk of time. Like we've really spent a part of our lives on this. And for us, seeing those changes where now there's, a bunch of meads on the shelves in Eastern PA, and there's a pretty robust mead market. It's really cool to have seen growth in the entire sort of region in the area and to have been a big part of that.
That's pretty cool. It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that many of the meaderies in PA are clustered on the eastern side of the state. Is that correct?
Well, it's, I would say that the meaderies tend to kind of mirror Pennsylvania as far as like where our population centers are. Oddly, we don't have one in Philadelphia yet, which is probably a function of real estate prices. But outside, we have several outside of Philadelphia. So depending on like how wide you want to draw your circle, right, of meaderies, we're about an hour north. Haymakers a little bit closer to Philadelphia. Medgiseld is in Lancaster, which is like an hour and change west of Philly. There's one in York, which is a little further west of that. And then there's a new one just opened up in Berks County, which is like an hour northwest of Philly. So we've got this nice like orbit around Philly. of meaderies, and then there's some now down in Delaware, which like count as a Philadelphia suburb, even though it's a different state.
Shh! Don't tell them that.
Oh, they know. Trust me. The Wilmingtonians are very aware of the fact that they're a Philadelphia suburb.
Bedroom community
so
is what they call it down here. That's what my town is.
Yeah,
bedroom community for Raleigh.
It's like New Jersey, right? I mean, it's basically like what city are you a suburb of determines what what sports teams you are a fan of, right? If you're south of Route 78, you're Philly fans, and you're basically a Philly suburb. So.
Well, I get to hit all of that on the way up when I come up this fall. So.
Yeah. I mean, there are a bunch in Western PA. I don't want to not give the shout outs to Laurel Highlands and Apis, and Four Corners, which was technically the first meadery in the state, although they probably weren't legal because the law didn't really allow meaderies, but nobody cared. Yeah. And then the first legal meadery in the state was Stonekeep out also in Berks County. So,
okay.
There are a bunch of meaderies in PA now. I think we're up to 13 or 14. And they kind of just move, they're in weird little spots across the state, which is pretty much what PA is like. I mean, it's an odd state, and I've lived all over it. Famously, I think James Carville said we were Philly, Pittsburgh, and Alabama in between. And then
pretty much,
Ed Rendell, I think, less famously but more accurately, was like, yeah, that's kind of wrong. There's all these weird little cities that are not, that don't really make sense. That'll be like post-industrial cities or weird college towns that kind of dot what is really, much too large a state. And it's just, you have these giant swaths of forest, and then you'll have State College.
Yeah.
Which is which has a stadium that becomes the third largest city in the state on game day. So it just, it's a very weird state, and I love it very much, but it's very strange. And the meadery culture tends to pretty much reflect that.
That's pretty cool, though. I lived in Pittsburgh for a couple of years and had cousins that lived over by Philly in, what's the name of the town? It's a really interesting name. King of Prussia.
Oh, yeah. Big mall there now.
Yeah. And I had a cousin who lived there. And so I've driven back and forth across the state 2 or 3 times. I've been to the Pennsylvania Renaissance Festival a couple times as an exhibitor. And so I've been to different bits of it, And it's very different. Driving all the way across that state is a study in change. And the inability of the highway people to finish the roads, but that's another story.
Yeah, right. The PennDOT has it's got a tough job, right? I mean, you get to cross a very large state with weather that changes every 10 minutes. I mean, if you've ever driven out to Pittsburgh from Philly on the Turnpike and you go through that final tunnel at Somerset.
Been there.
And it's no matter what happens when you go into that final tunnel, it can be sunny and 70 when you go in, and when you come out, you're in Mordor. 100% of the time.
Yeah.
It is just the sky is black. There's snow falling. I don't know why this is happening.
High
it's
wind,
June.
And don't forget 150 to 200 miles of orange cones and not a single person doing anything.
Right.
There.
Yeah, we really stretch.
Oh, is that where all the cat in the hats go when they're not busy elsewhere?
Yeah. It's actually we considered changing our state motto to really stretching the limits of active work. So it's that sign is we really stretch what that can mean here.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's a great state, and I love it.
It's a very pretty state. There's a lot there to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, and so it's been cool to see all these meaderies pop up. It's been cool to see some of the ones that predated us get bigger, and kind of grow with the market. We've got, I would say we're pretty fortunate to have a pretty strong diversity of styles too. You've got people doing really, really different things with mead all over the place, which is, more fun than five of us kind of making similar things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said, for us, we always wanted to be kind of like an approachable but really big flavor beverage at, a relatively aggressive price point, and, something that we could put in bars and on shelves that weren't used to having mead. And that's really, I think, helped us and the market as things have opened up.
Sorry, I was muted. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the whole session mead thing, which I don't think anybody saw coming really, has been just a lot of fun. We made our first session mead literally because Mike and I decided we wanted a hard lemonade that we would actually drink.
Yeah, unlike some of the other ones.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, if you've ever had the hard lemonades, they suck, right? They're just sugar bombs.
Well,
right?
except for the one that Mike Fall makes, that one's pretty damn good. But yes.
Oh, sure, no, yeah. Right, yeah, his is awesome. But if you have the macro ones,
yeah,
Doc's hard lemonade, they're all gross. They don't taste anything like lemonade either, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Lemonade's tart. So Manning and I, my partner and I, were like, well, we could make a tart hard lemonade. We do own a booze company. Let's just make one, and we made it, and then we were like, well, this is light. We can put it in cans, and so we did, and that's pretty much what started our, what later we decided, what the industry decided to call session meads.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it took us a while to come up with a name for them, and you'll still get people who prefer the term draft mead, which I fight with them about that. Because what good is being in a niche industry if you can't argue over semantics? You're right. We had nothing to argue about otherwise.
But, look, I can't get rid of the copy editor training, so I'm like, well, wait, what if it's a draft mead in a can? Like, you can't do that to English. Like, draft means is a way that you pour it. It is on draft. So if it's a draft mead, but you put it in a can, now it's not a draft mead anymore. As you can, mead maker arguments are really, really scintillating because of that type of stuff. Session mead seems to be, that's our, nomenclature, and it's something that I think it's also just piggybacking on beer, because everyone now knows what a session beer is or a session IPA is, so people are used to hearing it.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't realize we'd borrowed that from beer. I don't live in the beer world that much, so.
It's an old English beer term, actually.
Oh, okay.
And back when I was a beer writer, I was really into trying to popularize that term, because there's a relatively local writer named Lou Bryson who had a blog called the Session Beer Project, and the idea was session beers in Britain are under 4% alcohol, or 4.5 maybe.
Oh, wow.
And the whole point was you got flavor, and they were low alcohol. You could have a session of them. You could drink 5 and still function as a person.
Yeah.
And they were also priced aggressively. So, so they're affordable, big flavor, low alcohol. And he was really, this was in the time when we were when the only thing in the beer world was just how many double and triple and quadruple IPAs could you make?
Yeah.
And there were those of us out there being like, hey, we would really like to drink more than one beer and drive home, please.
Not to mention really not be so overhopped that you got no taste buds left at the end of it.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's a battle. I think we're still losing on a lot of fronts. But that's but the session beer one we eventually did. Session IPAs took over the market, and so that's an old British beer term that we kind of adopted in America for lighter IPAs, which taste an awful lot like what we used to call pale ales. And then Mead just kind of grabbed it, because by that point, bar managers and buyers and wholesalers were used to hearing that term.
Yeah, we inadvertently train people with the, nomenclature that may or may not be helpful.
Right. Well, if you ever want to hear someone get really up in arms about beer or nomenclature, get my business partner Mike a couple drinks in him, and then ask him about the origins of the term double IPA, and then just wait as he terrorizes the entire bar with beer history. Really good stuff. I have trolled him on so many Facebook posts, getting him to tell that story that it's good stuff.
You just like poking bears, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're not going to have fun with this, we all make alcohol. It's people who take it too seriously and just what?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you got it. You absolutely have to poke people who take stuff very seriously.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. The purists or demagogues or whatever you want to call them, who just take it so utterly seriously. It's no, man, I'm finally doing what I've always wanted to do since, for the last 25 years, and no, you're not gonna suck all the fun out of it by being not gonna let it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime, any niche community, it feels like there's always a pretty serious stripe of very self-serious people that think that they're guarding the Holy Grail or something. And that's true of anything, whether it's pretty much any niche community I've ever been a part of. And I'm always just sort of if we're successful and a lot of people like this, we're going to have to give up on that stuff, right, guys?
Yeah.
It's by definition, you want a whole bunch of people to find out about this thing you care about. They're going to bring their own stuff to it. That's the fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're still out there, though. There's the folks that are wow, rah, 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 and they just got to get all pedantic about everything. And it's okie dokie then. No humor for you. We get it.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still run into people that are what you're making isn't mead. Mead is defined as specifically this, what they want to define it as, which is always hilarious because it's
because it doesn't
the
say
definition.
That anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. The definition is always just broad enough to include whatever their most experimental thing is, and just narrow enough to exclude everything else. So it's always just a very convenient definition. And I'm always just yeah, sure. You are right, internet guy.
I've got some really good hops for you. You probably want that for that triple IPA you're fixing to make.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean it's I think one of the, again, that's also just sort of our identity and what we got into this to do was to introduce a whole bunch of people who had never had mead to mead. Right? We wanted to do that from the beginning. Partly because we had to.
How did that go over when Mike showed up with mead at your Beer Appreciation Society meeting? I'd love to hear that story. That has to be interesting.
So there was this a very highfalutin name of Lehigh Valley Beer Society, which was an offshoot from the somewhat more successful Pittsburgh Beer Society, where I had been a board member when I was in Pittsburgh. So I moved back to the Valley, started up this Lehigh Valley Beer Society, which was really nothing more than us getting together and sharing a bunch of craft beers during a time when craft beer was not that rampant. So you pretty much had to seek it out. And then if you wanted to try stuff, it was good. You get a bunch of people together and you could share it. So we would get together at bars and share pitchers. So we would all get to try different craft beers. And then we would have, every now and then, I'd have a party every August for this giant music festival in Bethlehem called Music Fest. And I would have a big sort of, we didn't have the term bottle share, but that's what it was. It was a bottle share because my mom lives right near Music Fest and she has this nice big yard. So everyone come over and the whole point was raid the cellar, right? Bring something you've been aging, bring something that you wouldn't just sit down and drink alone on a Tuesday night that, you want to share with people, and then everyone will bring it. And so Manning, I guess for whatever reason, had had no beer in his cellar and had already like given it to other shares or drank it all or something, and did not want to be that guy who brings homebrew to a beer tasting, right? Because like nobody likes that guy. So he's like, all right, like, what am I going to bring to this? Because I don't know any of these people. He basically come to like, I think 1 or 2 meetings. We did not know each other. And he's just like, I don't know these people, and I don't want to, like, my first real interaction with them to be like, I'm that guy bringing homebrew to a beer tasting, while people are dusting off, bottles of Cantillon. So he decides, he's like, well, I have homemade mead that just won this, medal, this best in show at Valhalla. Most people probably haven't had mead, so it'll be different. And I know this is good. It's just won best in show. Like, I'll bring this, because at least then it's something different. So he brings a bottle of what was named then and continues to be named Mojito, because he had gone through this mojito phase. This was a mint and lime mead. And cracked it, and I tried it, and I was just like, this is the best mead I have ever had. Like, just full stop. How long did it take you to make this? And he said, 6-8 weeks, really by the time it's all said and done. And I was just like, you're turning meads around in 6 to 8 weeks, and they're coming out this good. And he's like, yeah, with the nutrient additions and degassing and all that and temperature controls, things turn around pretty quickly now. You can make meads like this in a month or two. He had we didn't know each other, so he had no way of knowing that I had made mead back in college and had always kind of been like, this is a great beverage. Why is this not on the market more? And the answer I was always given is it's too expensive and it takes too long to make. And so, here I am trying this stuff, and I was just like, this is the best mead I've ever had. Have you ever thought about doing this professionally? Mike was like, no. I was like, okay, good talk. And for anyone who's listening who knows Manning, you can pretty much imagine the substance of these conversations. So, like, I see him in another beer thing, and it's like, hey, man, I was really thinking about that mead. That was really good stuff. Like, I put aside this money that I was going to open a brewery with a friend that never happened. Like, what if I invested? Could you think about maybe opening a meadery then? He was like, no, not really. I was like, okay, great.
Good talk.
Yeah, great talk. So, like, we're like, but just so we're like getting to know each other, like going out and grabbing beers. Every now and then, we got these meetings every month. We're getting together to drink beer, and I'm just like, look, I really think this needs to be on shelves. Like, if I ran a business plan with me as your business partner, so you wouldn't have to do all the stuff you don't want to do. Like, you could just make the mead. Would you at least take a look at it? And, I imagine to mostly to shut me up. He said yes. Figuring, like, I'm not going to write a business plan, like, because, most people don't do that. But I did. I went and wrote a rather large business plan in a very short amount of time, and I knew, and my friend from business school had taken over managing this manufacturing incubator in an old Mack truck factory in South Allentown that was mostly empty. So I went to him and I said, Anthony, I met this guy. He makes this meat that's incredible. I think I want to open a meadery. I think this building would be a great place for it. And Anthony basically threw me out of his office and was just like, I have had meat before, and that stuff is disgusting, and you can absolutely not open in this building. At which point I was like, no, stop. You've got to try this stuff. And he was just like, all right, fine. So I bring Mike in, pour Anthony some of Mojito and some of the, we had a Tupelo hydromel that we later made into a commercial mead. Mm-hmm. And Anthony was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. Yeah, you could sell this. I was just like, okay, great. So Mike and I shook hands and went into business as mostly strangers. And, started the paperwork. It was one of those very strange things that looking back on could have gone, not that great. We didn't know each other. But it's been perfect. We've been a perfect partnership really since day one.
Well, you guys make great meads. I've had several of them. I've not, unfortunately, got any in my stash yet. That will change this fall. But,
well, you'll be coming out.
I am. That's right. And I fully intend to bring back a metric butt ton of mead with me, just like I do every time I go somewhere.
We'll make sure we load up the car for you there.
Yeah, that's why I have a station wagon, But on the last Got Mead tour, I brought home 24 cases of mead. Set me back a couple of grand, but it's research. Yeah, that's what it is.
It's investment. Yeah, you can write that off.
I do. It's research. Yeah. It's meeting and working with the meaderies in both my capacities, and it's
right.
And I take that, and honestly, I don't end up drinking 90% of that mead. Goes into cases and goes to outings with me where I introduce people to mead. I went to an event in Western North Carolina about 3 weeks ago, and none of these people had ever had mead. No, I take it back, one had. So I took all this mead and introduced these people to mead.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's it's and there's still so many people out there that have never had mead, and if they have, it hasn't been a good experience. Mm-hmm. It was very much like the one that my friend Anthony had, where it was just like, I've had that, it's gross. And it's like, no, you've had Bun Ratty.
Which isn't even actually mead, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, but nobody knows that.
That's true.
They don't know that.
No, they don't.
It says it on the bottle. It was the old, it's on shelves. They, expecting people to know that isn't,
no,
they don't know.
It isn't realistic. Any more than, just like people still think that Chaucer's is horrible, which it was originally very poorly made mead. And then they realized that they had competition.
Yes.
They'd been ignoring us for 10 years, and they realized suddenly that they were getting their butts kicked, and came and talked to a bunch of the top people, including people like Mike Fall on the West Coast, and reformulated and took a gold medal, and we were all like with our mouths hanging open at the awards ceremony that year. It was like, what?
Nice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Competition makes us all better.
It does. Rising tide, man.
When you don't have any competition, what's the point in changing?
You get complacent.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I like the fact that we've got friendly competition that keeps us all improving,
I was at the vets with my rabbit the other day, and they asked me how my mead conference went, and one of the other girls says, "Mead? Oh my God, so sweet." And I'm like, it doesn't have to be. Grape juice is sweet. Wine isn't. Oh, I guess you're right. There's
people never think about it. Again, they just, they
don't know.
Honey. Yeah, and that's the thing. But it's also a, that's the awesome opportunity for us as an industry. Mm-hmm. Is that there is this huge potential market out there of people that have just never had good mead, and every single one of them is a potential customer. And that's a much more exciting, space if you're looking at it from a growth perspective than you see in wine and beer and things like that.
That's fair.
Well, look at what we've done just in the last 20 years. Okay, in 2000, which was 4 or 5 years after I got onto the mead scene, there were at that point about 12, 15 meaderies in the country. Now there's over 500 and over 1,000 nationwide or worldwide, and that just blows my mind. And I watched it happen, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It is.
It's so cool. Even in a much shorter stretch, even just the 5 years that we've been around, the difference in what you see out in Denver every year. in just who's out at Mazer Cup / MeadCon, from the first years we started coming out to the level, the number and level of people in meaderies that we see now. It's amazing, the difference.
Yeah, it really is. I remember when I first started judging, the quality of the meads that were being submitted were, well, there was a lot of not great ones. Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably the nicest way you could put it. Some of them were like, why did you even get this near a bottle? But over the years, and I mean, I've gone to judge at a competition every year for, 18 or 19 years now. And it's just crazy how much has changed. I mean, Joe Abruzzo on the chat was just saying there are 93, 94 point meads on the commercial side that didn't medal at the Mazer. And it's like, yeah, it happens all the time now because there are so many amazing meads that you have to be even more amazing than the other amazing meads to get a medal. And that just blows me away.
Yeah, I mean, and also our judging has started to. I mean, the same thing happened in craft beer. For the first long stretch of time, winning medals at Great American Beer Festival or World Beer Cup was largely defined by lack of flaws, right? It was who is making the most technically flawless version of a style. But then, now there's 15 IPA categories, each of which gets 200 to 300 entries. And of those 1,500 beers, I don't know, 1,497 are flawless. And so what you really end up doing is you end up saying, well, this is largely a subjective thing. We're really getting a consensus of judges whose palate we respect, but we can't pick out anything that the ones that didn't win at the final table did wrong. We're just sort of saying we like this one the best.
Yeah. To a certain extent, it has to be that. Which one is the best mead once you get to the final table?
Yeah, I mean, but for a long time it wasn't. It was which of these has the fewest flaws. Which of these screws up the least. And then after a while it's like, well, now by and large, there aren't flaws. And certainly at the final table there aren't flaws.
No.
We're now right. Now we're taking meads that are all in the 90s. And we're just going to say that we like this one better than the others. And that's a really fun place, again, for an industry to be in. Well, it's great from a commercial standpoint because we're getting all these great meads. I have mixed feelings on the entire idea of there being medals for commercial meaderies to begin with. Once we're kind of at that stage as an industry. But I think for the meaderies that understand that and they're entering it because they want to see the feedback, and that when you see a number that starts with 9, like you made the mead you set out to make. Yeah. And you did it well. And whether or not you got a medal is almost irrelevant.
At that point, pretty much. But it is. I mean, that's what, if I was entering competitions, I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, medals are cool and all, but I'd be entering to get feedback. That was the one and only time I went into a competition. That was the only reason I entered. I had no illusions of medals. I just wanted to know, what had I done right? What had I done wrong? How can I make it better? That was all I cared about.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think as the competitions get bigger and as we have fewer and fewer, each mead gets kind of less and less time devoted to it. That feedback has started to wane a little bit for the people that are seeking it. So if you'll permit me the segue, that's one of the things we're going to try and do at MeadCon East. Is
good.
Have an
I was going to
event
drag you back there.
where people can bring meads, sort of like a speed judging thing, but it's going to be less like judging and more just like you're going to get critical feedback from judges saying, okay, if you're entering this, here's what they're going to say. here's here's where I would enter it.
Mead back.
Right, here's what are you trying to do because this is what's coming through, and there can be a critical back and forth that's actually focused and designed to, get that sort of feedback, that improvement based, sort of criticism to say, okay, well, here are the things you can do, because just like happened to beer, a very serious percentage of whether or not you win medals at this point is knowing what category to enter it in.
Yeah.
And if you care about medals, which I don't think you should, but if you do, like, that's a thing you want to think about. And I think a lot of people maybe don't think in those terms.
Yeah.
What else is this going to be at a table with? And how is it, because basically you can have a great mead if it's at a table with a whole bunch of things that don't taste like it. It's not going to go anywhere just because it's going to be the odd one out. So that's one of the things I think we really want to get back to at MeadCon East, is give people the opportunity to get some critical feedback that isn't on a sheet that you get that has a few comments and a few check marks. I think for a lot of people, especially if they're unfamiliar with those judging sheets, that can be a frustrating experience. Looking at a piece of paper and seeing a score that's lower than you thought it was going to be and lower than you think it should be, and not really understanding why.
Yeah.
And I think one thing we don't want to, whatever you think the point of judging is, it shouldn't be to discourage people, right? I think we all agree on that. The last thing we want to do is be saying to people, well, give up.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make better mead.
If you're out there saying horrible things to somebody who's entered their mead, then you need to not be judging at all, honestly. I mean,
or even just if people are leaving with this feeling of, I don't understand, like, this was an opaque process, and I don't understand what I should have done better, and I don't understand this score and why I got it, and it's just now all I am is frustrated. Like, that's not the outcome we want, right? What we want is people to say, oh, this is interesting, this gives me ideas for how to improve, or, oh, I made the mead I wanted to make, it just doesn't fit in this category.
Yeah.
Or and maybe I'm.
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, is if we give them good information, like I was on the Braggot, I was in experimentals and judging with Pavel, and I can't remember who else was I judging with. I can't remember, but anyway, we had two really good meads. I mean, these were really nicely done. Unfortunately, they were Braggots. Yeah. So miscategorized. So basically, I made it clear that, I said all the good things about the mead, like what I liked about it, what I felt was really great, the balance, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I would love to be able to put you into the second round. However, this should have been entered as a Braggot. And so they got all the positive feedback, they got all the helpful feedback, but they also got you misentered this. So next time, if you enter this again, put it in Braggots,
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and that happens in every festival, and it can happen for reasons ranging from you clicked the wrong thing on the drop down, you know what I mean? Like, all sorts of stuff happens. So like,
could be worse, could be better.
But I think with the growth of the industry, we have all these new meaderies, and we have a bunch of new mead makers. And, I think that there is that sometimes that distance that you need to have to do a, reasonably good job of judging blindly, can be intimidating and frustrating from a feedback standpoint, where they're looking at a series of sheets, and look, sometimes those sheets contradict, right? And sometimes you look at, two different judges will say two different things, because like that can happen. Or sometimes judges will say stuff that's wrong,
Yeah.
And then you're sort of like, all right, well, how seriously should I take that? And like, the answer is, yeah, you got to kind of take everything with, what you know about the mead and what the judge knew about the mead, which was nothing.
Mhm.
And you have to kind of do some projection and say, okay, well, if somebody else who knows nothing tries this, is this going to be their response? And I think all those questions are, that's what we want people to be thinking, rather than, oh man, I didn't get a medal and I don't understand why. And I think the undertaking that is Mazer Cup International is so Herculean, and they do such a great job with it.
Yeah, they really do.
And it's such a big job. And when people, every now and then people are like, why don't we have more mead competitions? I'll be like, you host one.
Yeah.
Good luck. Like, if you host one, I'll kick you a few $100 as a sponsor. But like, good luck. These are hard.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a Herculean task. I mean, it's ridiculously complicated.
It's enormous.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for 5 years I was on the board with that, and it was like, oh my God, they start planning the day after the Mazer.
Oh yeah.
As the planning starts for Mazer Cup the next year. It's ridiculous.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see because like wine and beer have really taken two very different approaches to the same problem, which is like after your industry matures to a certain point, like kind of everything or most everything is good. And so how do we give medals out when basically everything's pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
And beer now at Great American, it's a crapshoot, and everybody knows that. It's a dice roll. Like you're just sort of buying lottery tickets, and hoping you win medals, because it's impossible to win them. There are too many beers. There's hundreds of entries in every category, and you're just like, okay, fine, right? And so there, it's just sort of understood, like, yeah, if you won, you obviously made a great beer, but like, there is a huge element of luck in that.
Yeah.
And in wine, they do the opposite, which is, well, if we have 300 gold medal wines, we give out 300 gold medals.
I hate that. I really do.
Yeah,
to me, that
everything's
feels like,
a 98.
Yeah, that feels to me like getting a participation medal. Like, yay, you were in the winning category. You get a medal. Congratulations.
It's like the Garrison Keeler, right? Lake Wobegon, where all the wines are above average.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, well, come on. But it's that, but on the other hand, it's like, well, I get where they're coming from. These are all good. They don't have flaws in them. So, there isn't a perfect solution to that stuff. And I will let much smarter people than I try and figure that out. In the meantime, I will just try and, try and support other meaderies and, share whatever secrets we can, get people together, allow there to be opportunities for feedback and support. And as long as we keep doing that, I think we'll probably be fine.
Yeah, I think we're doing it right. I mean, we're giving the medals to the tippy top, the people who really are, as much as we can possibly determine it, are the best, are making the most amazing stuff. And and we're not dissing on the people who are making these slightly less amazing stuff, but still very amazing. And they're getting kudos too in their scorecards, and and those of us that are judges going around going, oh my God, I had the blah 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 from such and so, it was freaking awesome. So
yeah.
We're going around talking about it, so they're getting their kudos. The piece of metal hanging around the neck of the bottle is awesome and all, but
Yeah, and again, I think at this point, the meaderies are, most people know that. I think most people, I'm more thinking about like what happens in 10 years when there's, 3,000 meters. What happens when we're like craft beer size? It's just like, how is this, how are we going to kind of address the very good problem of like, well, there's just too much good stuff in this room.
Yeah. There's so much.
I imagine someone will find
enough.
Yeah, I imagine we'll find a way to get rid of it, but it's going to be difficult. It's just it'll be to me that's a like kind of fascinating and fun question, just because, like you said, we've changed so much in such a short amount of time, and if we keep growing on this we're going to have a whole slate of like good problems. Yeah. And that's the world that I think, we're really excited about living in and being in, where it's just like, where, there's too many good meads on the shelf for the average consumer, and there are too many mead consumers for people to like, for the market to handle. Like that would be a great. That's a really exciting day.
Like, I can't keep the mead on the shelves is a problem I want to hear meaderies having.
Exactly.
All over the country, I want them to say, I can't make this shit fast enough.
Right.
And I'm starting to see that in a few places.
I
think that's amazing.
It's a real thing. It is, you've got everything from new meaderies starting up and running out instantly. Yeah. Like our friend Alex.
Grand opening.
Had a grand opening and then had to make a bunch of mead. There was something else to sell.
It was a good problem, but a bad problem at the same time. Well, look at these. Okay, new kids on the block. We got the Honeybrook guys over in Colorado, and they had opened, I think, maybe a month or two before the Mazer Cup this year. They were at the mead mixer. They poured their mead, and every single one of their meads that I had was every bit as good as meads I've had from meaderies like you guys have been 5 years, and Mike 20 years, and and Brad, and they were amazingly good meads. These guys got their shit together, and I was just so happy for them that look, right out of the gate they're kicking butt and taking names. Yeah. I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there are so many resources now for a new meadery on how to avoid some of the mistakes that some of us made.
Especially if you're in the AMMA.
We didn't know any better.
Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah. No kidding. Like, there wasn't MeadCon when we got started, and it was a lot of like, we could call a couple people. We could call like Michael Fairbrother or Brad or somebody if we had a problem, and there was like some chance that they had the same problem, and like maybe it would help, or like a lot of times it would be like, I had no idea, man, sorry. That never happened to us. No. Great.
We've got a lot of good knowledge out there that people, and that's what I love about this industry so far. And I imagine we'll get to the point where we're all like really jaded and stuff. Hopefully that'll be a long time from now, but like after I'm dead would be good. But I would really like it if it was after I died, guys, so I don't have to come around and beat all of y'all. To see that, like somebody comes up and says, I'm really having problems with blah, blah, blah on my label, and 5 people pop up and go, oh, I ran into that exact same thing, and here's what I did.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of good knowledge in the industry now. It's really a fun place. And it's really I think there are some really great support systems in there. And so I think it allows meaderies like Honeybrook and Honeypot to open up, and at a really significant level of quality.
Yeah. Used to be it wasn't like that. It didn't start out
I know.
That way.
I look back on some of our early meads, and like, don't get me wrong, they were still better than a lot of what was out there. But certainly compared to whatever we the standards that we have today, they'd be embarrassing.
I look at the home meads that I make. I mean, I make some pretty good meads, but I see the quality that some of the home mead makers are turning out, and I'm like, Jesus, you know.
Yeah.
I was terrified that the Chamberlain was going to get totally trashed. We go like, oh, Vicky, you had so many opportunities with this, and you totally blew it. You know? So, I mean, I was really hesitant about bringing that out. So, because I've seen the quality that's out there, it's stunning.
Yeah, it's really cool. You know, which does occasionally lead me to, when I'm talking to people that are thinking about opening up a meadery, you know, on the flip side, you really got to have your stuff. You got to know what you're doing. Like, if you don't have your recipes down, if you don't have your technique down to the point where it's pretty much, you know, autopilot, don't open a meadery.
Don't make a batch and think you can open a meadery. I've seen that. And I've had people come to me and say, I've made 3 batches. I want to open a meadery. And I ask them, the first question I ask them is, have you taken the meads that you've made and submitted them to known known top people in the industry that are not related to you and are not your mom and that are not your friends, to give you feedback on whether that mead is well constructed?
Yeah. And really, if you've made 3 batches, like, I'm happy for you and that they all came out good, and that's like, you should probably keep making mead, but like, you're not close to being a commercial mead maker. Because what's going to need to happen then is a level of consistency you're just not ready for yet.
And that's probably the hardest part, is consistency, honestly.
Yeah, that's the part I'm scared of.
Well, and that's what's different, right? I mean, at a home mead making level, it's like homebrewing, right? You can just make stuff, and like, if it comes in out of spec, or it's not totally what you wanted, or you like, you know, like screwed up the recipe or something, like, it's still mead, and you're gonna drink it most of the time, right?
And your
like,
friends are probably still gonna like it.
Yeah, maybe it's not the first bottle you crack, but like, who cares? Right? It's fine. You just go make another batch, and you can be incredibly creative, because every batch you make can be totally different, right? Because you're just trying to do new stuff and experiment and have fun with it. As a home mead maker, that's what you do. As a commercial mead maker, you're doing the opposite, right? Every batch needs to be to spec, and if it's not, it's a really big problem. And you're not just making stuff to screw around. You have to make certain recipes consistently with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very different thing. And I think, you know, for some people, don't ruin a hobby you love by turning it into a job.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you want it to be a job, great. But then think about it like a job skill set.
Yeah.
You
if
know,
you're going to do a job,
train
do
yourself
it well.
to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, now with the quality of meads that are available, if you go in and your stuff's not good, and you like, it's not going to go well for you. Like, it's not. There's too much good mead out there that it's just not gonna. It's not going to be a successful experience if you launch and your quality's just all over the place for an extended period of time.
Well, look at the breweries that have had that problem. And this is in a mature marketplace, okay? The craft brewing industry is mature by craft alcoholic beverage standards. And you know, the breweries that cannot control their consistency and their quality of their output go down the tubes fairly quickly. And that's a lot of money lost there. It's not cheap to do this. So, you know.
And it can be, I mean, and in the beer world, you even now, I mean, you're seeing places that make great beer have problems because of business model stuff or debt load or you know, stuff that even sometimes outside of their control. You know, there's a lot of competition there, but yeah, it's, you know, look, if you open up and your stuff's not perfect, people will be patient, especially if there are like signs of promise. But they're not going to be endlessly patient because they just have too many options.
Yeah, exactly. And those options get wider every single day. Every single day.
And it's got to be, and there's so many other complications that come when you open up a business that, like, the product part of it needs to just be almost autopilot until you kind of figure out what's going on.
Well, from what I hear, most of the time the problems with new meaderies is not the mead. Most have a good product. It's the business that ends up being the downfall.
I mean, as a business side guy, I would be inclined to agree with that statement.
But you do need a good mead.
You do. I mean, I frankly, I've seen both. I think, as with any business, the problem comes not necessarily when the product is not perfect starting out. It's when the product isn't good and the person refuses to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
You know, if your stuff's not good, like I said, people will be patient. We're in a pretty supportive industry. Everybody makes alcohol. If you go out and ask for help, the help will be there. You can pull yourself up pretty quickly. And I've seen a huge number of breweries do that. Go from homebrewer to bad brewery to good brewery in a relatively short amount of time. And, you know, and that's generally speaking fine. It's when you've got a bad product and the market is telling you have a bad product and you're not listening.
And you're saying things like, it's supposed to be that way.
Right. I like it this way. That's the way no, it's not bad. It's good. And people
I've
are
always made it this way. Yeah.
Yeah. And like your friends say it's good, but you're not listening to the strangers. Right.
Yeah.
That's where you start running into, you know, I think real issues. And, you know, and it's even some of the online kind of hype home meaderies that rely on the focus group of like a very small number of people who are to some extent like emotionally and financially invested in this meadery being good.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you open up, like you have to be more than that. You know, it can't just be a meadery for 150 people. You know, that's not a commercial entity. So there's a real risk to over reliance on a kind of like small bubble of opinion of people who already like you. You know,
Yeah.
you can miss really important stuff that is going to make you know, tell you whether or not you're going to have a successful business.
Yeah.
And that's before you get into all the annoying stuff about like some states don't even really let you distribute the product. Like you can't even have some business models, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I tell people that are fixing to start out. I ask them straight out, you know, who is telling you your meat is good? If they're A, your friends, B, your brewing club, or C, anybody you're related to, then you'd have to disregard all of that because they have a vested interest. They're prejudiced necessarily. And that's not there's nothing wrong with that. Of course they are. But if you want to know, you know, you want somebody who doesn't know who you are and doesn't give a crap, you know, who's going to tell you straight up what they think. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just, even if it's like, I mean, look, our homebrewing club could be very, very hard on some of our meads. And we learned pretty early that if we made meads that made them happy, we would go out of business. And that's just because your average mead maker is not your average mead consumer. And your average mead judge is not your average mead consumer.
No.
Yeah.
And what sells and what wins medals are not necessarily the same thing. And that's another thing I tell them.
Right.
Yeah, and that's actually something they've been talking about in the chat room is how you the stuff that wins medals isn't necessarily your best sellers because the people who are drinking it are not judges.
Right. And that's, I mean, you know, we have several meads that sell very well that would never win any medal. You know,
yeah. It sells.
That's just right, and it's a good mead. It's just not a good competition mead. And again, that's at a commercial level. one of those things matters a lot more than the other. Right? Like, you are in business to be in business. You can win medals as a home mead maker.
Yeah.
You don't need to open up a business to do that. You open up a business because you want to sell things.
Yep.
And then you want to introduce people to a product. That's kind of like, that needs to be where you're excited about. And if you're not, like, then, cool. You don't need to open a meadery. You are allowed to make mead and win medals just from home. It's really cool.
Yeah. You can brag to your friends, and it's all great. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. But so you mentioned earlier about you guys had started out in an abandoned truck plant, and that
still there.
And you're still there, and you've got a guy there who is running like an incubator place, right?
Yep. We're in the incubator. It's called the Bridgeworks Enterprise Center. It's the Allentown Economic Development Corporation, so it's the nonprofit for economic development of Allentown. They own the building and they run the incubator. So there's like 12 businesses in the building, maybe more now. The building's full. When we started, it was almost completely empty. It was like 25% full. But yeah, there's also a brewery and a distillery and now a kombucha place in the building.
You got all of them.
So
that's awesome.
Fun.
So
yeah,
have you guys hooked up with a distillery to like distill your mead yet?
They have run off a couple small batches of the mead. We've found more success. They've made some what they call mead shine, but we found more success with barrels, honestly. When we take a mead barrel, they did a gin aged in a mead barrel that was out of this world good. We just released a mead aged in a wee heavy barrel from the brewery that is awesome.
Nice.
So like we have a lot of fun with barrels. That's a really fun kind of thing to do.
It is.
Obviously it's really cool. Just it's a nice draw for people because you can go and you basically have a one-stop. Like, first of all, you can go to 3 different places in one building if you're doing one of those days.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just like going out to listen to the band and eat some truck food and like have a night out, like there is something there for everybody.
Nice.
Like you just everyone can get a drink that they like, which is cool. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and they've been there. We've all been together now for a few years, so it's been fun, kind of carving out this little booze-focused chunk of the incubator in South Allentown.
That is very cool. I love that they're doing that. I mean, a lot of people think Allentown, and they think old-timey industrial, yada yada, fringes and dying, and the way you look at a lot of the industrial towns in the Midwest and the upper northern Midwest or whatever you guys are. You're not really, I don't know, are you Northeast or Midwest? You're kind of on the fringes there.
We're Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic. There you go. That'll work.
Yeah, we're the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, but it's part and parcel. I mean, I grew up in Michigan, also another post-industrial kind of place that's trying to redefine itself and find its way, and I love that that's happening in a place like Allentown, because it could easily have gone the route of a lot of towns that didn't find their way and are just now kind of sorry and sad.
Yeah, no, Allentown has been doing very well in the last few years. The whole Lehigh Valley, which really we try to fight against the provincialism of because there's three largest cities that make up the Lehigh Valley, and then a whole bunch of smaller ones. But really, the Lehigh Valley is an area. It's the third largest population center in Pennsylvania. Allentown's the third largest city in Pennsylvania, and it's the fastest growing in Pennsylvania.
Cool.
There is enormous growth all throughout the valley, which is it's a very exciting place to be. And kind of all the different cities have their own little quirks and like ways that they've kind of tried to overcome the sort of, industrial ups and downs over the last 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
But, in general, it's really, there's just a lot going on. And it's really nice to be, we're not more, like, I think something like 80% of the population of the United States is within a 5-hour drive of us.
Yeah.
Something like that.
One of the reasons why I won't live up there, that many people in that small area just makes me a little scared. That's
yeah, but I mean, one of the great things about being where we are is like, it's not a big city, and you're an hour from Philly and an hour from New York.
Yeah. And see, to me, it would be like, it's not a big city, but it's only an hour from Philly and an hour from New York, and then I shudder and run away. That's just me. I love to visit, but no, I can't live that close to that many people. It makes me, gives me the willies. I'm a farm girl, though,
I mean,
so,
we've got plenty of people in the valley who have never gone to either city. I mean, there are people in Allentown that have never gone to Bethlehem, which is like the next city over.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not that far. I've been to both towns, and it's just not that far.
Yeah, it's trust me, we have our share of provincialism and people that aren't big on. I mean, because you go, it's Pennsylvania. You go 15 minutes and you're in farmland.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and you 15 minutes in any direction and you're driving by farmland.
Yeah. That was the only thing that kept me from going insane in Pittsburgh, honestly. Was that. Yeah. But, all right, so MeadCon East. Let's tell folks about East. That. Yeah, this is your baby, Greg. So.
It is. And I'm very excited about it. It's Friday, September 6th. It is a one-day East Coast Mead Conference. We have many people many people are saying. No, many, people in the mead world have, for the last few years, kind of suggested to varying degrees of
yeah, they've come right out and said, why the hell aren't you having it on the east side of the country? Let's just be truthful. Yeah, Greg. Come on.
They've shared some constructive feedback that that the trip to Colorado is logistically challenging. Look, it is hard for us to take a week off for Colorado. The impact on the business is really significant to lose Mike and I for a week, and that's before you get into the fact that it costs a lot of money really to do that. So when we're a pretty well-established meadery. So when you have newer meaderies, smaller places, that is an incredibly difficult lift for them to get out to Colorado once, let alone every year.
Yeah.
And so I do think it makes some sense for the AMMA to start, this year, this kind of bi-coastal thing where you've got things that at least people can get to. We're really hoping to grow this. It is the first year. My goal was to have a one-day conference so that if you have a small meadery in, a city 2 hours, 3 hours away, you can get out. You can leave in the morning, come for the conference, and leave that night if you want, and you are back in your meadery for Saturday if you need to be.
There you go. Yeah.
I hope people will take the extra day, stay, come down to Honey Fest, go downtown Beer Fest, hang out. I hope people will stay. But if you can't, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can come. You can get all the benefit of all the professional development. We have a really, I think, really good slate of speakers and topics right now.
2 tracks.
On both tracks. Yeah. 2 tracks. And you're getting some really, these are top flight names in the industry. You've got Carvin Wilson, Michael Fairbrother, Sergio and Bobby. You've got, and then we're also adding in some non-mead people. So we've got a talk by the people at AADC who do the lending for the meaderies and planning and mead and commercial members.
Ooh.
To basically be like, when you ask for money, here is how you do it.
Oh, nice.
So I think that's gonna be something that interests a lot on the commercial side. We've got our assemblyman, Pete Schweier, who is on the Pennsylvania Liquor Committee in the State House, giving a talk to the commercial meaderies about how to interact with their elected officials, who to call, when to call them, how to do it, how to use them. So we've got kind of a nice broad range. Evan from Dutch Gold is going to be talking about honey.
Nice.
Not a far drive for him.
No,
this will be an easier trip than Colorado. But so we've got a really nice range of speakers, a lot of different talks. There are two talks that I've been very excited about because we've been kicking them around for 2 years. One of which is mine, which is steal these 5 ideas from my business. And the other is the closing joint session where we will literally take everybody's phones and recording devices and make them turn them off, and we will all tell the stories of the worst things that have ever happened to us in business or mead making.
Oh, jeez.
And it will be, I imagine, quite colorful. As someone who has heard at least a few of these stories, like, I want to hear the worst things. Like, I want to hear stuff that makes people just groan audibly. Like, I want people shaking their heads in sadness. It should be a really fun session. I think that'll be, with, of course, the goal of everybody, like, let's learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Do not do these things we did.
Yeah.
Because it goes really badly.
Well, and then at the end, there's the mead clinic. AJ, isn't that what you called it? A mead clinic?
Yeah, it sounds like a mead clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that too.
I
think we need to use that, honestly, because we've been banding about names. That feels right. So, but
yeah, and again, that's for anyone that wants critical feedback but doesn't want the opacity of a blind judging process.
You can look at the person and say, well, why?
and say like, I don't really understand what that means. When you say you're getting that, what do you mean? Because here's the other thing that anyone who's judged or even frankly drank in any level has learned: palates are different.
They are. Yeah.
And people will smell and taste different things, and they are not wrong. They are just different in their sensitivities.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike and I both have pretty experienced, pretty well-trained palates. I can pick up diacetyl from about 3 rooms away, and I can't smell DMS if it's under my nose.
Okay.
And Mike is the exact opposite. He will smell DMS from like across a hallway, and diacetyl doesn't bother him. And it's like, that's not a function of anything other than we have different sensitivities and palates.
Yeah. Well, and very few people
totally.
are what they call a super taster. I think Pete's one of them. That like just pick up every little thing. But the vast majority of us are just normal people who don't have that extra sensory perception when it comes to evaluating a beverage. And so we're all going to have our areas where it just our noses don't pick that up, or we can't taste it, or whatever. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, but that said, a lot of us may not be able to express it, but a lot of us do pick up on things that a lot of people don't. Like Hamish and his ability to detect anything mousy from 5 paces away.
Oh my God, yeah, he knows mousy like backwards and forwards, and he can definitely. So
yeah, and like I can pick out buckwheat honey from a spit away now. Like things you learn and based on your experiences, and also based on the way your senses work. Everybody's different, and it's really interesting to see how different.
Right, and I think one of the things about this event, the Mead Clinic, which I will steal, thank you, AJ, is you'll get a chance to have that dialogue in real time, and there will be other people there, right? So if it's like, hey, I really smell, there's a phenolic end to this, there's a burnt plastic smell to this, and then the other person's like, I don't get that at all. okay, good. There's a million other people here. Let's ask them. Like there are other people who are doing this side by side. Do you smell this? Do you smell this? What would you identify that as?
So kind of like up at Carvin's room, only quieter and more focused.
So honestly, a big part of it is I wanted to replicate, like, I feel badly every year in Carvin's room when someone comes up to me and wants feedback on their mead. Because one, I am probably already drunk. Two, like, God only knows what my palate has been through in the last, 15 minutes.
And
like, three,
garlic mead or something.
Yeah, three, if I don't like it, I'm not going to tell them. Because it's not the venue for me to do that.
Yeah, that's not where you give honesty.
They're not getting. They want honest feedback, and they're not getting it because I'm not in the mode to give it, and neither is anyone else in that room. And they don't want a sheet of paper with judging notes and a score. They want to know what I think, and I can't tell them. Because I have no idea, and if I did, I wouldn't tell them.
And you've been drinking.
Right. I have no idea what I think at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's mead. I've had 17 of them in the last 10 minutes.
I was to say when you tried my Chamberlain, you were like, "Oh, this is really awesome, Vicky," and I was like, "Oh, thank you, Greg."
No, that actually was good. But if it wasn't, I probably wouldn't have told you. I might because I know you.
Honestly, I judge mead, so I tasted it before I let anybody else touch it. If it had been horrible, none of y'all would have got to try it. It would have gone down the sink.
Sure.
You never would have seen it. I would have been like, "Oh shit, the bottle broke in transit. Sorry." I would have lied.
Well, everybody knows my habit of bringing bad examples. So, here, try this. Tell me what's wrong with it. I want to know, and I won't feel bad if you spit it out.
Yeah, well, that's that's kind of where my head is often at too.
Oak thing last year, Jesus.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
And he took such great delight in making people try it.
I think he just wanted to get everybody's faces on.
He's a sadist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, he's still laughing over that. He's still laughing over that.
Jerk.
Yeah, I know. We get him back over there. We're just gonna have to gag up on him and make him try a bunch of really shitty mead.
Yeah. God. Anyway, so yes, it is going to be very much like Carvin's room. I hope it will be like that because that is honestly the feeling that I wanted to get.
Only not.
I wanted to get that, but focused. But to offer that as a okay, bring your meads and we will tell the people whose opinion you want, we will tell you what we think, honestly, and we will actually take the time to smell it, taste it, do the sensory analysis, and tell you what our impressions are. That's what I wanted to have. And so that's what the mead clinic will be. And then the next day they'll get a bus down to Honeyfest.
Mead clinic. Yeah, and don't forget you forgot the kickoff parties on Thursday night.
Oh well, yeah. Look, plenty of people are going to come in Thursday, I would hope.
Well, yeah.
And spend the extra day. So it would be rude not to have a party at the Meadery.
Yeah.
And then for those that
at both locations.
don't feel like going to bed early, we will have our second location open in South Bethlehem, a short, I would say it's about a $12 Uber away. And that location can be open till 2 in the heart of South Bethlehem. So we will have a kickoff party and then an after party for the Night Owls where we will drink what I can only imagine is going to be an unwise amount of mead before.
Probably, yeah. Thank God we're not judging the next day is all I can say, sit there and listen,
right. That's right. Yeah. And those of us who have to speak will just pace ourselves or, whatever.
Or something. Or look really hungry.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey. what would an industry conference be without that?
That's right. It is craft alcoholic beverages after all.
Yeah, you gotta have your designated drunks, right?
That's right. That'd be all of us.
So I think it's going to be a really great time. I think it's going to be a good small conference, but we'll have some really good content. Tickets are on sale. We capped it at how many tickets this year?
I set it at 100 because we figured people would split off. And we are at this point in time, as of this morning, at 18 tickets sold. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's going to go quick. We're already, we're 5 months out.
I mean, it's a lot considering. Yeah, considering we're 5 months out, it's been up for 2 weeks. I mean, I was honestly, when we were talking about this, I was like,
we opened ticket sales 5 days ago. 5 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. So it just feels like 2 weeks.
It just does. Well, you've been telling me for 2 weeks, let's get this up and running, and it just took that long to get it up there. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, these things take time.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we've already got 18 tickets. For me, I sort of said, like, look, we'll do this thing with 30 people. That's enough to have good discussions and good feedback.
Cool. That's right.
But But yeah, if people want to do it, if we're already at 18 after 5 days, like that 100 number is definitely not out of the question.
No, I don't think we'll have any trouble doing it, honestly.
Yeah, so people should go on and get their tickets. I'm waiting on a hotel link for the fine people at the Wingate, not too far away.
For those, so for those of you who are asking me, do we have a hotel yet? Yes, but we're waiting for finalization. I apologize. I said I'd have it up today, but we're not done yet. We're waiting.
They haven't. Yeah, the hotel is like the person at whatever that fine chain is, the Wyndham. It sent me the thing. I said, "This is great. Give me a link." And it was like, "I will now wait on various approval." So as soon as we have it from them, we'll have the link up. It is. I mean, one nice thing about the Lehigh Valley area is it is a relatively cheap place to stay, eat, and drink. This is not like if you go to downtown Philly or New York, where you're going to be going broke to stay there for 3 days.
Yeah, we're talking, guys, less than $150 a night, taxes included, for hotel. This is not going to be stupidly expensive. It's actually going to be very reasonable, and there's a ton of food in the area. Hotel actually has a full restaurant that you can use if you're too tired to go out. And so it's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the people that certainly we know from the area, but also like from the home mead making world. I do think, as we say every year, that trip out to Denver is tough for a lot of people. So I'm really hoping that this is the people really grab this opportunity for us to get together as an industry. Those of us who can't make the travel quite as easily, and then really to build this for future years and to get to the point where we've got 2 really strong conferences a year. That really help us build the industry on a number of levels.
Yeah, I'd like to see this one go to 2 days, 2 tracks with nightly events like we have in Colorado. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that absolutely will happen. It's, again, this year we wanted to get something there, get people together, start small.
That's what we did the first year.
And thankfully our incubator building in Allentown has a bunch of space and was super cool about offering it to us for, professional development like this.
Yeah. I think this is going to be, it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. Saturday, what's going on Saturday?
Saturday, you've got 2 options as far as programmed activities. One is we'll take a van down to Honeyfest in Philadelphia, which we sponsor every year. So we'll have Mike will be down there slinging mead. But we'll get a van. People can go down, do the whole thing with the Wick House, which is the organization that hosts it, take advantage of Honeyfest, and then come back up. We will stop at Haymaker Meadery, Adam's Spot in Montgomery County on our way back up to the Lehigh Valley. Or if you're a commercial meadery, the Allentown Beer Fest is going on that day where they shut down the main drag of Allentown. Dog's excited about it, so you can tell the dog is into that. And so, like, that'll be going on. So for people who want to go to the beer fest, or if you're a meadery that's distributed in Pennsylvania, you feel like donating a whole bunch of product and just doing for the exposure, you can grab a table and pour at that beer fest.
Nice.
So those are your options for Saturday. And then Sunday, I imagine, will be a combination of recovery and travel home.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to come in 3 or 4 days early or stay 2 or 3, 4 days after, because I want to visit the other meaderies in the area. I want to run down and visit Joe down at WA Meadworks. I got to go see Bobby. Bobby's already insisted that I come by. And of course that means I have to see Sergio, and I've got a sister up in Boston, and like there's that whole area. I never get up there, so yeah.
Yeah,
while you're at it,
I mean,
just
look,
come visit me too.
Yeah, and well, yeah, I got a passport, so.
Yeah, I mean, there is a. Yeah, and I imagine you will not be the only one making a mead excursion out of this.
Oh yeah, and everywhere I go, you got to do that. It's part of the deal.
Yeah, but I mean, I know I know that for those that are that maybe don't get out to this particular area, we've got all the meters that are close by are definitely going to be there with a lot of stuff. So there'll be there will not be a shortage of interesting meads, commercial and otherwise, available at this at these various events.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, for anybody who's going, yeah, but where is this thing? MeadConEast.com. That's where you can find out tickets. You can get your tickets. You can find out where it's at, what's going to be happening, who's going to be talking, and very shortly, as soon as we hear back from the hotel, how to get your hotel reservations. But you want to be there. This is the inaugural year.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be nice not to be the one standing in the middle of things going, wait, you go over here.
Yeah, you'll get to laugh at me.
I might actually get to attend a session. I literally in 3 years have not yet attended a single session.
Oh, Jesus.
Not one.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I mean it's like I'm outside the room going no, because people have got questions and I have to be there to answer them because I'm supposed to be in charge. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to not being in charge and going to a MeadCon. This is your problem, Greg.
It'll be I'm happy to take on the burden so you can sit in the session and see and get some of the benefit for a while.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'm really looking forward to the stories thing, and there are 3 or 4 of the other sessions I'm looking forward to sitting in on and just hearing. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. And I'm planning to come. I was planning to come up there anyway, so I just decided to time it around this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll look forward to seeing you.
That's gonna be cool. And I mean, I'm there if you need me to wrangle whatever's. But I'm gonna go see some sessions. Just saying.
Awesome.
But
well, thank you guys so much for having me on. And,
yeah, thank you.
And letting me talk about all sorts of rambling stuff about the industry in MeadCon East, which again, I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone there. I think it'll be super cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really excellent. And yeah, we'll keep pimping it. Letting people know, making sure they know about it. No worries.
Yeah. Wow, 18 tickets after 5 days. That's actually significantly that is ahead of where I figured it would be.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to start getting bigger rooms.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't say that's why I'm letting you know every other day or so how many tickets we got sold, so you're kind of knowing, what you got, what you're facing. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked about the whole thing. So yeah, it's looking good.
Cool.
But all right, well, thanks for coming on, and it was really fun to hear you talking about the business side of things, because I know Mike's kind of the mead making side of things, and you're the entrepreneurial side of things, so it's fun hearing it from that perspective.
Yeah, thanks. It was good getting to talk.
Yeah. So, all right, well, we'll let you get back to life, and thanks for giving us an hour and 45 minutes of your life. And I'll be talking
Thanks so
to you
much.
soon, I'm sure, because, we talk every couple of days. But, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, have a great night, guys.
You too.
All right, night, Greg.
Take care.
Thanks.
Night.
So that was really cool. I hope those of you that are meadery owners or aspiring meadery owners got some good stuff out of that. Greg knows his stuff. They've got a really solid meadery that's growing really well, and they're kicking butt and taking names. So these guys know what they're doing. As far as the MeadCon East, if you are east of the Mississippi and you were moaning about how you couldn't get to Colorado, this is your chance. Literally, there really only are going to be like about 100 tickets. There's a space limited because of the location that we're using this year. So if you want to do this, get your ticket, because there's a very real possibility this is going to sell out. I'd say there's almost guaranteed it's going to sell out because, like I say, there is a limited amount of space. We can't just jam y'all in willy-nilly. The fire department gets pissy about that. So, be looking at that. Go look at the schedule, MeadConEast.com. Go look at the schedule, see what they've got. There's the parties and the networking on Thursday night, the conference, both tracks on Friday, and then the visit to, it's a bus tour, basically. So you can buy your spot on the bus, or you can do this on your own. It's entirely up to you. And we're going to go down to the Honey Festival in Philadelphia, and then we're going to visit Haymaker Meadery. So very cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, chauffeured, which means you don't have to, you don't have to be designated. Yeah. So there's a lot to be said for that. If you have underagers, I had somebody ask this, so long as they're not drinking, which would be the Haymaker part of it, if they want to come along on the bus ride for the Honey Festival, feel free to buy them a ticket, not a worry. So I just wanted to make sure that anybody you might have, we had somebody who's bringing their 18-year-old along. So, definitely that's very cool. But I'm excited about this. I think it's great that we're finally getting a mead conference on the eastern side of the country, and this is just about the same size as MeadCon first year was in Colorado. So I have no doubt that in a year or two we're going to be having much more space, much more capability, and a whole lot more people coming to talk with great keynotes and all the stuff that we've come to expect at the MeadCon West, I guess. So this is what we're trying to do here. So if you've been thinking about it, and if you couldn't make it to Colorado, here's your chance. Take it, grab it, help us make this thing great, because it's good for the industry. Yeah.
Sounding really cool.
Yeah, it really is. I'm excited about it. Greg put this whole thing together. I basically just threw the website up and he gave me the information and I put it on there. So I get to go. I get to go not as the person who's supposed to be making sure things happen. I get to go as the person who actually gets to go. So I'm kind of excited about that too. It's very different. I'm not sure what to do, but I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so upcoming events: May 9th at the Royce, Detroit. The Complete Introduction to Mead with Ken Schramm. So if you are anywhere near the Detroit metropolitan area, this would be a really good thing to go. Ken knows his stuff, obviously. If you've spent more than 5 minutes in this industry, you know this already. May 12th, Orchid Cellar Winery up in Maryland. Mother's Day Sweet and Succulents. They're going to be doing mead tasting, planting succulents, and doing a whole bunch of other interesting Mother's Day style activities. So, take good care of Mom. Coming from a mom, I'm here to tell you, moms like this kind of stuff.
Way better than bath stuff.
Yeah, and Orchid Cellar is up in this beautiful hill country in northwestern Maryland. It's just gorgeous up there. So,
cool.
Yeah, and their place is fabulous, and it's all the way around. You really want to go. May 17th, Rushford Meadery and Winery has their winery comedy tour, and this is A-lister comedians that are going around and doing comedy at wineries. So we're not talking just the local comedians who are very funny, but we're talking like A-listers, like the big stuff.
Cool. Yeah.
May 18th and 19th also at Orchid Cellars is Wine in the Woods in Maryland. It's a festival in Maryland. This is not just Orchid Cellars, but a whole bunch of wineries and meaderies, so it's definitely a cool thing. May 19th, Starlight Meadery is having a Reiki 1 certification class. If you are into the idea of Reiki, this is awesome. This is in the Raleigh-Durham metropolitan area. They are out in Carborough, which is west-ish of Durham, out towards Chapel Hill. May 20th and 22nd, Wye Valley Meadery in England is going to be at the London Wine Fair. May 25th, Honeygirl Meadery has Mead and Beezine. That's with B-E-E. They're actually having an event where you get to creatively paint beehives at the Buddha Bee Apiary.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and then these beehives are going to be put out at the apiary, and so your design will be on display.
Cool.
At Buddha Bee. So that's kind of neat. I really like that idea. If I was gonna be here, I would definitely check that out. Well, that, and if I didn't have to crutch everywhere I went. May 24th and 25th, Wild Blossom Meadery and Winery in Chicago, Singles Mingle event. May 25th and 26th, Linganore Winery, Caribbean Wine and Music Festival. This sounds so good. I love Caribbean food. June 1st, Starlight Meadery, Spirits of Summer Festival. This is a big festival, and they're going to be the meadery there. And that's in Winston-Salem, I think, North Carolina, which is in the center of the state. June 1st, Honeymoon Meads is having Giants Causeway playing music at their meadery. Also June 1st, Warped Pours 2, Pour Harder, Metro South Homebrew League Homebrew Festival. I just love the name of that. It just cracks me up. Yeah. And one I'd really love to go to, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get to because I'm leaving for Michigan shortly afterwards. June 7th and 9th, Brimminghorn Meadery's Viking Festival. They do this every year.
How can you not want to go?
I know,
how can you not want
right?
to go to that?
It is so much. I saw the pictures last year, and it looked like such a blast. So this is in Delaware, guys. It just if you're anywhere in the area, trust me when I say you would have a really good time. It's a lot of fun. There's food, there's drink, there's so many interesting people, and the mead is freaking phenomenal. So just go, just do. June 8th, Woodstone Creek Artisan Winery and Distillery is doing Saturday sips, wine, mead, and spirits. So they're going to be pouring wine, mead, port, and distilled spirits. June 27th, Brothers Drake Mead, the Bees Meads at the Conservatory. So they're having a little event at the Conservatory. That sounds like fun. I like conservatories. July 27th, the Orcas Island Cider and Mead Festival. And that's on the West Coast. And then August 31st, New Day Craft Mead. And I love the title of this, the Meadful Things and Outsiders Festival.
Oh my.
Yeah. Not ciders.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ciders. Yeah. So lots of cool stuff going on, and I'm always finding more. And you know what? If you got an event and you want me to put it on Got Mead Live, just let me know. Just email us at gotmead@gotmead.com and tell us about it. I go out hunting for this stuff. Stop making me have to hunt for you. And, give me your events. I'm happy to read them out and plug them for you on the show. So, that being said, we'll be back next week. I had a couple of things shift, so my guy next week moved out a week, but I will have somebody. And then the week after that, we're going to have, who was it? Oh, Texas Meadworks. Mike Poole is coming on week after next. And so, we've got some cool stuff coming up. I'm working on getting your Canadian Sasquatch guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you, AJ. Yeah, I emailed him, and he emailed me back, and so we're just working on a date now. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah, so, and I think we're going to have to bring Bray back on, too. He's been doing some interesting stuff, so I'll talk to him and see if we can't get him back on the show. But he's posting really intriguing things on the Got Me group, so I think we need to bring him back. So, so we've got some good stuff coming up. Hopefully I won't have to take off a Tuesday for surgery or anything like that, but we won't know for a while. So until I get back from getting tests and et cetera to find out just exactly what stupid shit I did to my knee. But in the meantime, though, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. And, have a good one. Drink good mead, have good fun, and, be excellent to one another. And we'll see you next week.
Night, everybody.
Night, everyone.